strategy for knowledge. Strategy for knowledge in the book. Change our language so we couldn't read it if we look. Convince us we ain't have shit here but disease. Made us 3/5 human and black and legally. You put your fists up to being African American. How much history you went through for that to make some sense? I've been on Turtle Island 10,000 years. Akubulan been my neighbor. Pangea brought me here. The world didn't start in 1400s. Niggas grow up. What you think we was doing? Morse was running Europe. We been tribal folk, now it's time to show up. Bring back the villages, cause cities ain't got no love. Your melanin addicted to the infliction of pollution. Chemical dependency, nature the solution. Grow your food and medicine, build homes in conclusion. The enemy will televise infiltration as inclusion. Les Nobodies presents Unica Monet's first children's book, Show and Tell. Find out what happens when a teacher uses her class's show and tell time to give each student an opportunity to share some facts about the culture where they're from. Read with your children and discover that it is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength.
Hey, peace, y'all. Welcome to the book club. I'm trying to get myself together. Gravity playing with me. But yes, I'm very happy to be here. Yay, we finally made it back. It's been like over a year since we did a book club.
Yeah, a whole year.
A whole year. It's been more than a year. I'm happy to be here. So this time during our book club, we decided to, well, I decided because I got first pick. Peace. I got first pick, so I decided that we was gonna read my book because it's Halloween time, and I wrote a horror story. And this book is now officially 2 years old. So happy birthday, book! This book came out 2 years ago. It's called Stories to Tell to Evade Torment from Hell. And just a little synopsis of the book. It's about a spirit. The spirit's name is Nemesis, and Nemesis is in the underworld, and she's a tormentor. And for those of you guys who don't know, in mythology, Nemesis is actually the goddess of retribution. So it's an alignment that, she's there and she's the tormentor and she has the soul. And how it's set up in hell is you don't get to see the soul that you torment, and you could see their sins and stuff like that, but you don't get to, I guess, necessarily see the person. It's just a shadow. So this person knows a lot of information about Anansi and Alegua and some other things from West African culture and stuff. So Nemesis is very interested in trying to figure out who this spirit is. And so the spirit decides to distract its tormentor with 3 stories. It tells 3 stories. And the stories kind of reveal who the spirit is at the end of the book. And there's a big twist at the end. And I really enjoyed writing it. How did you enjoy reading it?
I'd enjoy it quite a lot. However, there is a lot of trigger warnings.
Okay, what's up? Speak on it.
What do you mean, speak on it? There's a lot of trigger warnings.
All right, we're going to start with this here, book. I can share my page. So what I want to do is, hold up. If you guys tap in with me on YouTube, you will be able to see. Are you tripping on me?
Sorry.
You will be able to see. I'm about to pull up the page to my book. So that we can look at it together on my screen. All right, so that's happening.
What's wrong?
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see if I could share my screen. Show my stream. I can't even see. I don't want to do that. I just want to do the window. No, I don't want to do that either. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to figure it out.
I think that's it.
That's not it.
No?
Hold it. All right, I was trying to figure out how to do this. Now everything want to move slow. I need to start doing these on my desktop again. It's cold as shit down here.
Why not just do the entire screen?
Because then it would show us like 3 times for no reason. Because it's showing us on the computer and then it's showing us again.
I want to affect the phone.
I'm not trying to affect the phone. The people that's on Instagram, if y'all tap into my if y'all tap into my YouTube page, I'll be able to see it.
They'll
I'm
still
about to
see
quit.
3 of us instead of just, you could just go on there.
There we go. There we go. It just took a minute. That's cool. We like that. All right. So in the book, this is like the back of the book. Who is the spirit? What did they do? Why are they in this realm? You know. Nemesis is the goddess of retribution. That's like in the space. That's, you know, the tormentor, if you will. Oh, cool. And I can still. There we go. And so yeah. And then I divided up the chapters. It's copyright and all that fun stuff. These are the chapters I divided it into. So you got chapter 1, which is Torment in Hell. So let's talk about chapter 1. Chapter 1 was Torment in Hell, where we introduce Nemesis and the abilities that Nemesis has in Hell. Was that a trigger for you?
Me?
Yeah.
No. It can be a trigger for others. Trigger warnings are like, I guess, warnings for, you know how like in the beginning of shows and movies, right? They usually tell you about 18 or older, mature audiences only. Stuff like that. Trigger warnings like sexual harassment, violence.
I get that. I'm talking about my book.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about my book. What's up? You read it? Tell me what you think.
I like the book.
Okay,
actually.
let's talk about chapter 1. What happened in chapter 1? Did you like it? Like, what part did you like?
I said I like chapter 1, but it isn't my favorite chapter.
Okay,
Mostly
what did you
because
like about
it's not-
chapter 1 though?
Mostly because it is just only 9 pages.
Okay.
Another thing, you didn't exactly explain. Okay, so where I stand from, this whole world, right? That the retribution is just in right now. They're molding the lava out of the walls, making rakes and different maces in order to hurt the torment the silhouette, whose name is not disclosed at this point in the story. So does this name have a place? Are we on a different realm, a different plane?
What do you mean? We in hell.
But are we on a different level?
Well, you don't find that out until the end of the book. When I tell the last story.
All right then.
But I thought you read the whole book.
I did.
How you read the whole book? You asking me? The book not that long, y'all. The book is like what, like 100 pages. I think it took me about
84.
It took me about an hour to read the book. It's an easy read. The font is pretty large. Just a lot of spaces in between. So like it's not a hard book to read. The first story is Nemesis is in hell. The soul is introduced and the soul tells its first story. The first story I like. I don't know what inspiration I got from the first story, but it was just like learning about a lot of you know, West African mythology and practices and traditions and cultures and stuff, and I was trying to intertwine that all into a story. And so the first story is kind of like, it sounds like a random story. And that's the whole point. You're supposed to feel like you're listening to a random story that has nothing to do with nothing until the end of the book story. And it's like, oh, the spirit brings up something about knowing who Olegwa is and the powers of Anansi and things of that nature. And let's scroll down to that. We got the chapter 1, Torment in Hell. This is just describing, and like with Nemesis, like Nemesis can smell and taste like the sins that she's providing retribution for, and she kind of eats them and she has fun with them and stuff like that. So like it's definitely like she enjoys her job to a certain extent, but then you get a kind of vibe that like she's also being sentenced here in hell. Like there's also a story behind her and like, why are you here and what are you doing here kind of energy. The first story he tells is a story about 2 police officers that are looking for a serial killer who seems to keep killing women that look a certain kind of way.
That is story 1, Acts of Creation.
Mm-hmm. In this story, there's a device that they come up with. There's a device that they come up with where they can, instead of trying to get like a verbal
testimony from the suspect.
Yeah.
They usually, what was it? Sound waves?
Yeah, sound waves, the frequencies from your brain waves. You put like
they would intertwine with each other instead of just a one way.
Mm-hmm.
So they would get your memories and you would get their memories.
It depends on how you put it on. It would happen sometimes that way. Like if you had on one of the things and I had on the other one, I would take your memories and then we would switch and then you would take mine, but it wouldn't be happening like at the same exact time or anything like that.
Okay.
The thing with that, it was like a little rule behind that is like, when you take somebody else's memories, you're only going to have them for a certain period of time because then they start to disappear because they're
just
not
like a dream.
Your memories, they're somebody else's. And I think the longest someone had ever held a memory was about 6 hours in the book. I play around with the number 6 because 6 is the number of creation as well, with the celestial government being involved. So I was very intentional with the numbers that I utilized in this book. I was very intentional with the people and the names. If you look up the definitions of the names of the characters, I was very intentional about that as well. And so, like, towards the end of the story, I don't want to tell y'all what happens, but it's a twist, and you find out who the serial killer is, and then we go back to hell. And so, if you guys are tapped into my YouTube page, you can see the screen, and on my screen, I'm showing y'all my book. My YouTube page is Less Nobodies, if y'all want to tap in on that realm. So we go down to the next story. And I also incorporate like a lot of historical happenings, like in this book. Around that time, the couple, they moved to the state of Virginia. And when they moved to Virginia, there's actually some things that are going on historically around that time zone, and so I incorporated that in the book as well. So chapter 2 is called Another Story, and now we're back in hell, and the spirit kind of bought some time with their torment. Like they're supposed to be peace. They're supposed to be in hell for a certain amount of time. They're there for 100 years, and every minute in hell is
a year for them.
And every minute in hell is a year for them. So, but it still feels like a year in hell. So they really spent 100 minutes but it's 100 years down there. The time moves a whole lot slower. So
And depending on I guess your viewpoint on the experience, you either go up a plane of retribution, or you go down further or stay in the same spot if you haven't learned your lesson.
We get into that on the third story. Yeah, I get it. I definitely get into that on the third story. Coming back to the second story. So we're going to talk about this. So put a pin in that and remind me to go back to that. But on the second story, so we have another story, and the spirit, bought some time. They bought themselves, like 50 years, and they got like 49 more years to go in hell. And so the spirit is like, oh, wait, I got another story for you. And this is going to give you more information about Papa Legba and Anansi, because apparently Nemesis got a little beef with them. Some things have occurred between the three of them. And it led to Nemesis being in the underworld to torture people to begin with. Nemesis hasn't been on her job. Nemesis has been sleeping on her job and doing stuff when she want to do it. And so because people weren't receiving their proper retribution, certain souls was just on earth going rampant, killing people and stuff like that. And I align that with the different red summers that we have had in America, where the flogger rods, I call them flogger rods, I ain't calling them shit else. When they was going around into Aboriginal neighborhoods and towns and burning down the towns and killing the people and raping everybody and stuff like that. Just pretty much repeating their energy that they did when they first got here. Just keeping it alive. I feel like that was like a blood ritual they were doing every summer to start the summers, And now that the more that I learn about the United States natal chart, I really feel like my next book is gonna be crazy. But in this one, yes, I do incorporate some stuff about the Red Summers into this book, and some happenings that occurred in the state of Virginia during the Red Summers in the second story. So in the second story, now he's telling a story about this couple that are from, a country in Africa. I forget which one I chose. Abori, Ghana. And that was intentional too, and I forget why. Everything was just so intentional, but I forget why. I had to pick up my notebook.
The Acts of Separation.
Yes, the second one is called Acts of Separation. So if you pay attention to the chapters, I'm also very much in alignment with the Netaru's and the usages for the spheres on the Tree of Life.
I believe you chose Abori Gahana because remember in the second story that he tells, the silhouette, I believe you incorporated some of the mythology from here as well as their practices.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point about this story was there was a wedding, and I believe this happens a lot in different West African cultures when they try to cultivate with other races. People want to incorporate their cultures in their happiest days in their wedding plans. And I guess sometimes, you will get arguments and disagreements from your family, especially your grandmothers and grandfathers that want everything to be original as they see fit. So as she's trying to cultivate herself with the Americans, as she's moving over there in Virginia, she forgets her practices, doesn't do prayer. She basically locks
and
all
they're
her...
just giving you a backstory. Her and her husband are both priests. They practice, and she's trying to do away with it because she's an American now. So go ahead, keep going, I'm listening.
Yeah.
They threw all their cultural stuff all in the attic, and it's just been locked up there. And the husband has to resort to going to other people to practice since he can't even practice in his own home.
And at the wedding, the woman, and I do a little play on the name, so they somewhat have a similar name to the first story. This one is Nathaniel and Amalia.
That confused me too for a second.
I intentionally made their names the same but different. Their names have meanings, so when you look up the meanings of their names, it was intentional in that realm, but also intentional that their names were similar because I was trying to convey that I don't want to tell y'all, but I want to tell y'all. So in these 3 stories, it's kind of like, you ever seen that, it's a book too. What is it called? When they were showing people in their different lives and their past lives, all the different lives they lived. They had Tom Hanks and Halle Berry and all them in there. It was gonna come to me at a random moment, but that was a really good book. And that's what I was trying to do here. That's what I be trying to do in a lot of my books, but I was just showing them like this is another life that they lived. Honestly, this was the life that they lived prior to the first story. So this is kind of like the second story is kind of like a prequel to the first story that the soul tells. So the name's a little bit different, but the energy is the same. And it kind of gives like a foreground to why the first story even happened, if you will, with them practicing, and then the red summers happen and they're affected by it. And it calls for the woman to finally give in and really practice her spell work and her conjuring work, and making deals with Elegua and stuff like that. So she had to, at the end of the day, when it was time to tap back into her spiritual self and her spiritual lineage, she did that, and she waited till last minute. Yeah. And it was just crazy to like watch her mindset about it and how stubborn she was being about fitting in with her American friends at her American job and all this stuff like that, despite, what was at risk in that space. And that's a lot that we deal with in our culture. Being indigenous people, we have been shamed out of our culture in this corporate country. This country is not a culture. This country is a corporation. It's a community. And in order for this corporation to make money off of us, they have to engage in social engineering and social control with marketing. They're going to market to us and tell us how we should behave and should not behave. It's marketing. It's not, you have to do this. It's marketing. And then there's policies within their corporation that if you're going to be if you're going to be a consumer in this corporation, you have to follow this policy. But in the meantime, throughout this, I'm going to market things. And yes, it gets confusing because they do market suggestions and shit as laws and stuff like that. Like, you have to do this, but there's a lot of things that you really just don't have to do, and you can still maintain our indigenous culture and our indigenous practices. But a lot of people at this point, generation after generation, are currently afraid to do that now. You know what I mean? They're afraid to do that. They're embarrassed to do that. They're ashamed to do it. I had the pleasure of, going to college and meeting a lot of people that were from different countries. And, I made some friends that were from different countries, and going to their house and seeing how cultural their grandparents were, their parents were, and to see this Americanized child, in college with me, and they don't want anything to do with their culture. And I'm over here just fascinated by it. Like, yo, your culture is beautiful. Why do you want to be like a quote unquote American? Like, this is not a culture. This is a corporation that we get resources from, but this is not a culture. That's why
it doesn't have a past.
It has a past. It doesn't have it's not a culture. Like, it doesn't have a story. It doesn't have DNA that's passing to its offspring. It just is. You know what I'm saying? It just is. It's not familial. It's not. It just is, and it's a baby country at that. So yeah, it has a history, but the history ain't even that good, and it's not even that long, and it's not a culture. It's a corporation. And that separation of those two words is so important to me. So in this second story, I really tried to convey how I view the insanity of doing away with your culture because of whatever culture you think that you're entering in when you enter this country. And I've seen that a lot working at healthcare. A lot of individuals from the Caribbean and Africa countries and stuff like that, they come over here and they work, and a lot of them work in healthcare. I'm not generalizing or anything like that intentionally, but like me being in these facilities and stuff, I see a lot of people from other countries, and it's like they don't like their homeland too much. It's just it's poor out there. This. And it's like, it's poor by whose standards? Like, you guys are so rich in culture and resources and stuff. You guys are wealthy. All we got over here is these fucking dusty ass pieces of paper that we're like
throwing at each other,
threatening people to believe in. Like you have a gun to your head, making you believe that this piece of paper is worth something, you know, for the most part, because we've done away with our culture. We don't have nothing else but to sit here and say, okay, well, I'm gonna believe in this piece of paper because I stopped believing in my culture. But if we believed in our culture, we really wouldn't need this piece of paper no more. We will be able to grow our own food. We'll be able to build our own houses. We'll be able to start our own sewage lines and, you know, create our own electromagnetic energy grids and all that stuff. We would be able to go on trips because we would have the power to create our own forms of traveling, our own traveling vehicles and stuff. Like we would be able to do all that, but because we're doing away with our culture and we're just sitting in this American shit, we don't have that. We just got paper. And so like I tried to play on that, and I tried to play on the karma that comes from doing that in this story. And I like how it came out. What you think about it?
I think this story is a lot better than the first one.
You think this one's a lot better than the first one?
Yeah.
I like them both the same because they both bring something. Like the first story had like such a big twist in it that brought like more spirituality and hoodoo and voodoo into the story, and really kind of like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with it. Like I felt like, you know, I really liked the first story. When I was writing the first story, I saw a movie in my head. I saw an episode. And the same thing when I wrote the second story. Yeah, same thing when I wrote the second story. But I definitely, you know, played a lot more in the Red Summers with the second story. And then we got the third part. The third part is Who Are You? And so at this point, you know, the spirit has had enough. You know, I mean, not the spirit. Nemesis has had enough of the spirit. And Nemesis is like, all right, like, bro, you've been playing, you telling me the stories and all this, that, and the third. Like,
it's not getting me any closer.
Mm-hmm. And at some point, can't remember if it was before the second story, before the third story, actually a spirit comes into the scene and tells Nemesis, yo, I see you over there chilling. You're not doing what you've been sentenced to do. You're supposed to be down here tormenting, and you're not. And Nemesis felt some type of way, which is why
after that
the next story actually happened, because that was Nemesis being stubborn or like, you know, kind of, I guess, petty, or you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, you're going to try to tell me what to do, but now I'm really not about to torture this. So I'm about to sit down and listen to another story. So you get a feel for Nemesis too. And now you're starting to realize that Nemesis is there against her will as well. And then we get to the third story. How'd you feel? Well, the third part wasn't really like a third story, if you will.
It was more like the ending.
Yeah, it was more like the ending. It was more like
conclusion.
Wrapping everything up. Now, when my dad read the book, he said that I ended it too fast, but I didn't want to create like a long book. I wanted you to be hungry for another one. I wanted people to come up with their own conclusions with things.
You wanted a fan base, something that would praise it for quite.
And I like making quick reads because it's satisfying. Like, oh, I just read this in an hour and it felt good. Like, I want my books to feel like an episode. You get what I'm saying? So you don't feel overwhelmed when you see this big ass chunky book. But like, you know, you get to experience like a quick, you know, 90-minute movie real quick on your couch with my book. It's the read is that easy and it's that quick, and I really liked it. I really liked it. Like when I read the book again, like it just made me like it even more. Like I want to see this on TV. Like this should be the skeleton of a show. And every episode, you know, a soul is telling another story to a tormentor or something. Like I would love to see that. Once my kid learns how to animate shit and we could put our voices to it and stuff, I would love to have like horror animated series, because I don't know. I feel like actually physically acting is a lot of work and a lot of overhead and a lot of editing, and I don't have a team for all that. But hopefully my child, he gets his own little business team. We'll see. But the third story pretty much wraps everything up. It reveals who the soul is, which I'm not going to tell y'all because I really want y'all to read the book and enjoy it with me. It reveals why Nemesis is there. It ties in the first and the second story that we listened for those that didn't really catch up and they're still lost. I tried to tie everything in so it's like you're not, for those who take a little bit longer to catch on to what's going on, they're not lost. And then it goes back to the first story at the end of the book to show that we even moved back in time, and certain things got rectified. And so now we're starting over again and we're back on a spiral. So now it gives, the reader the opportunity to say, oh, well, that could have happened, or this could happen, or wow, like, oh, okay. So like I like cliffhangers too. Cliffhangers are a big thing for me. I enjoy them.
Big cliffhanger because then you made a fourth story called Restoration.
Yes.
I think this went back to the first story as well. It went back to the same couple.
Yeah, it went back to the first story.
Amaya and Nate.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second story
was Amalia and Nathan.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep the names the same but different so that you could see like these are virtually the same people. It's just a different life. That's what I wanted you to see. And I don't want to talk about that part because that's another twist in the book that I really want it to be like oh wow, okay, cool. So like that's the book. It's 84 pages. Like I said, it's about like an hour. It took me an hour to read it, but it could be up to a 90-minute read. If you're sitting on the couch and instead of like watching an episode on television, you could just open my book and it took the same amount of time. And I just thought it was like a really dope experience. It's the ebook is on my website right now for $11.11. You can find that on letsnobodiescollection.com. I do foresee myself writing more books called Stories to Tell. I have a whole bunch of other titles. They won't be to evade torment from hell. I won't be like still playing on the same premise of them being in, Dante's Inferno or anything, because that's where they're at. They're in Dante's Inferno, and you'll get to hear those references in the last part, in the third part of the book, where they're in this courtroom, and in that scene, I was thinking about Beetlejuice. There wasn't a courtroom in Beetlejuice, but it was kind of like that underworld feel where all the dead people are there and they're waiting to figure out what to do as dead people. And so like in my mind, when I was writing the book in that room, I saw like Beetlejuice characters, but they were all like, silhouettes. And so their name were called. Once their name was called and they had to walk up to the defendant, seat, to check the Libra scales to see what circle of hell they were going to go into.
Fade in or solidify into reality.
Yeah, they would come into their physical self as they go to the defendant's seat, and now you can see what they look like. It was. I really like that idea about that. I pulled that shit out my ass. I pulled a lot of stuff in this book out my butt, but a lot of the stuff in the book I got from like just researching West African mythology and hoodoo and voodoo and different, aboriginal practices, whether over here on Turtle Island or on the other side on, Akabulan. And I just, I put it all together in one book, and I really like the way it came out. I'll read it again. I'll watch the movie a few times. Like it was one of those things where you go back and say, damn, I did that. That's how I feel about it. I've been writing books since I was smaller than you, so like to finally have like an official book out is just like, oh my god. But yeah, so out of 5 stars, how many stars you gonna give my book?
I'm gonna give you 5.
5. So I got 5 out of 5 stars on my book.
And next you're gonna give me stars on Wake.
Yeah, I was reading the back of this. I can't wait till it's my turn to pick a book again.
Read the back because I feel like this is what I have to go through every day.
It's okay. This is the book we're gonna read next. I actually got this book from you, I believe.
Really?
Erica. So this is the book we're gonna read next. This is called Wake, and I'm gonna read the back. This says, for 17-year-old Janie, getting sucked into other people's dreams is getting old, especially the falling dreams, the naked but nobody notices dreams, and the sex crazed dreams. Janie's seen enough fantasy booty to last her a lifetime. She can't tell anybody about what she does. They never believe her, or worse, they think she's a freak. So Janie lives on the fringe, cursed with an ability she doesn't want and can't control. Then she falls into a gruesome nightmare, one that chills her to the bone. For the first time, Janie is more than a witness to someone else's twisted psyche. She is a participant. So this is pretty cool. Somebody infiltrating somebody's dreams and stuff. So this is the book that we're going to read next. I'll probably read all. I'll probably have this done by next week. This ain't bad.
How many pages?
This is okay. That looks like a forward to the next story. That doesn't look like the same book. Where's the page numbers? Oh,
No.
This is the second book.
No pages.
It's like the Goosebumps. They put other books in the back.
In the back, book. They do
like Goosebumps. I remember that shit used to be so fly.
I had a couple of books that did that in middle school. I loved it when they did that.
Oh, it's like 200 pages. Yeah, I could have this done by next week. So we're gonna read that book next. If you guys want to tap into it, yeah, that was my bookcase. Oh, my bookcase. Oh yeah. I got you. You actually told me to read it, and I never read it. That's what happened. It's been on my bookcase since Broad Street. Because you was like, read this one, and you gave me that one. And I think it's another one that's up there that you told me to read that last year, and I ain't read it yet. But we're gonna get through them. So this is the next one we're gonna read, and you're gonna get it back when I'm done. So that's the next one. Yeah, because Erica be stealing from the library just like me. And you guys can tap back in with us next Wednesday. I know we did this on a Tuesday today, and that's because my schedule was kind of like retarded this week. But yeah, by next Wednesday, we're definitely gonna read this book. Oh, you want to read The Last Victim? I don't think Zeke will be able to do that one. He already.
What do you mean?
Oh, The Last Victim was the one I was supposed to read. Yes, I started that joint. I gotta finish that, especially because I'm in the Jeffrey Dahmer vibe right now. Like, I might as well just finish that shit.
I do not want to be stuck in a vibe like that.
And I'm not ashamed. But that's all I got for y'all. That's the book. That's the book club. That's the post. We done here. Any last words you want to say? You want to introduce yourself, tell people where they can find you. What do you do in your free time? Are there any products or services that you sell or have to offer to anybody that may be watching? What do you do, kid?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Mostly because as it goes with social media as of recently, I haven't really brought myself onto the table. If anything, I just make random edits for fun, especially if it's just about content that I actually love, stuff I like to watch. But as it is, I want to do something special for Halloween.
Okay.
I think I want to do an edit for another movie, maybe Michael Myers.
Okay, so if y'all follow him on Instagram, tell them what your Instagram is.
That I cannot remember at the top of my head.
It's Retrowave Swordsman.
Retrowave Swordsman.
You guys can find one of his posts in my story if you guys want to go to my story and look. And what he does is he edits videos. He's a video editor, and he's an aspiring game coder. So he a little modest, but that's okay because that's what I'm here for. And what's your TikTok? Isn't it Geeky Boy Retro?
No, I don't have a TikTok anymore.
No, it's just the Instagram?
Yep.
All right, so y'all can just check
And then I have to delete all those videos and start anew.
It's all right.
GKI space RETRO.
Mm-hmm.
Geeky Retro.
Geeky Retro.
Retrowave Swordsman, if you want to do the official name.
Young Delinquent. That's you.
Young Delinquent? Yeah, that is me as well.
Oh, okay.
That's my old TikTok account. It's literally not active at the moment.
Oh, you a delinquent?
It was actually an OC I was drawing.
Oh.
An original character I planned on making a story about.
That sounds like a vibe. Okay, so we got some characters. My man's, he be drawing. He can do like, I was about to say virtual drawing, but that's not what I wanted to call it.
Digital?
Yeah. Digital art and stuff like that. So y'all check him out on his Instagram page. Y'all follow him, like his pictures and stuff. Y'all can hit him up if y'all want some videos
all years
edited.
Old.
It's all right. He can fix that up right on up for you. He also does voiceovers because you hear that voice. Don't that voice sound like a narrator voice? Yes, he does do that. He has offered his voice to do commercials and things before in the past. So he does a lot of stuff. He just don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. We're gonna get comfortable again with our communications. So again, peace, y'all. Thank y'all for tapping into the book club. Please make sure y'all go to my website, letsnobodiescollection.com. My ebook is now for sale up there. Stories to tell to evade torment from hell for $11.11. And yeah, it's up there. Message me. Let's, we could do another live talking about it after like a group of y'all read it and stuff like that. And I would love to hear everybody's feedback and stuff like that. But that's all I have. All right, I'm out of here. Bye. Psych no. Psych yeah.
I wonder why Erica